And we're live. This is Gear Dive Jam. What's up, Travarsi?
Yo, what's up, B-Boy Tech? I'm
Chill.
ready.
You ready to do this?
Yes.
So this evening, this is November 12th, which I don't know how that is the case, but it is November 12th. It is 6 p.m. Pacific, or slightly a little bit after. Sorry, guys. And anyway, this is we're featuring the Black Corporation Deckards Voice. That's exciting, Travarsi.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about this one. I've been having a lot of fun with this. So.
So, and I feel like odd man out. I think I'm the only one on the show tonight without a Deckard's voice. And so I've been kind of binging on videos. This is going to be good therapy for me to check out how everybody's using their Deckard voice. And tonight, our guests are Gerald Fjord Danny Kim of Distortion Corporation. But when you short it,
right? This goes a lot easier. Yep.
And then we have special guest Bob Rogue from the Black Corporation. And so it's nice to have you on here, Bob, too. But listen, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Yo.
Hey.
Hey.
It's good to have you guys.
Great to be here.
Oh, there we are. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I think it might be appropriate to start with, what is the Deckard's voice? School us on that.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to answer that question for me, since you probably know it better than I do by now?
Yeah, sure. I guess the Deckard's voice is a Eurorack version of the Deckard's Dream, which is a sort of synth inspired by the Yamaha CS80. And it's not exact, but it's pretty close.
Cool. Cool. So it's inspired by the CS80. It's not exact, but it's pretty close. And obviously it's in Eurorack. So I mean, CS80 is a lot of kit. So Bob, you were making this thing. Was it tough to kind of trim it down to something that was still reminiscent of the Deckard's Dream sort of product, but still trimmed down to Eurorack? Was that a tough sort of translation for it?
I didn't do any of the design, so sure. But just to kind of expand a little bit on what Danny said. The Deckard's Dream was inspired by the CS80, and the Deckard's voice was inspired by Deckard's Dream.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Deckard's Dream is 8-voice polyphonic analog synthesizer that you play with a keyboard. Deckard's voice is basically 1/16 of that. Mm-hmm. Actually, because what you would have, each voice on Deckard's would be basically 2 Deckard's voices.
I see.
Is it the same with because I've never owned the Deckards. I had the Kajimi. And then with the voice, I know it's a single voice, but is that all the features that are on that single voice for all the voices on Deckard's Dream? So the filters, the resonance, the LFOs?
Right. So you have hold on, I need to look at the module myself. So the LFO section on Deckard's Dream, it's a full synth, controls the whole synth, both voices. So basically you have 2 parts, and that's the square wave, the square wave, the saw wave, the sine wave, the filters, and you have a mix slider in between on the performance section. And then you have the sub oscillator, the LFO, that goes over the entire thing. On the voice, you do have the LFO that goes over that one voice. But yes, I guess that would cover the whole voice.
Yeah.
I promise the rest of the answers are going to be much shorter.
Oh, well, it's perfectly fine.
Fill us in.
Indulge us.
I know, right?
That's what's dope about the show, is that we really want to know about the thing. And from anybody that may have stuff to add in, and don't worry about the time. I mean, we're going to be able to get to the things and the different performances and stuff. So, and there's an expansion for it as well, right? Or supposed? I thought I saw something posted on your Instagram account at some point.
Well, there's an expander for the Deckards Dream, which actually we discontinued because we just hated building it. And, there's a follow-up module to Deckards Dream, Deckards Voice, called Rachel, which is going to incorporate ring modulation and envelopes, other envelopes and other modulation.
Nice
routing to it.
And that's shipping when? Trying to get it out. I don't know.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, the closest, the only information I have of that right now is what the panel looks like. We haven't seen the prototype yet. Roland's working on it, apparently. But you know, he likes to work in secret sometimes, and you know, there are secrets that I keep intentionally, and then there are those that I just couldn't answer because I don't know these things.
That's right.
Yeah, one of the exciting things about the Deckards Voice was that I don't remember if I talked to you or Roman, but I had asked if the expander was converted to MIDI and then CV, but it looked like it was actually, it wasn't CV all the way through, right? So because of that conversion, you, I guess, are in the MIDI world for a little bit before you get back to CV. And so
In the expander?
Yeah, that's what I remember hearing.
The expander, well, so the original idea for the expander was going to be 16 CV inputs that convert to MIDI.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, once we had a prototype and realized, oh, we're going to have to go in and calibrate each of the inputs and whatever, we quickly switched to, okay, instead of those CV inputs, we'll just add a delay and a reverb. And none of it is actually controlled externally. You can't save anything with the presets. It's all real-time manual. So to answer your question, yeah, I mean, the controls on the panel are full, probably digital controls onto the delay and the reverb, but the sorry, it's a little early and I haven't had my coffee.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah. Well, I guess the whole thing I was debating about getting the expander was just the ability to get the finer tunings without a little bit of stepping, where you're in the CV world and you stay in the CV world. But that's why I got pretty excited when I heard about the voice, Deckards Voice. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to be a little more accurate with Rachel. I'm imagining at the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty satisfied with the voice so far. It's pretty cool. So I guess as far as the range of all the different, is there a modular version of Kajimi down the road, or some of the other sort of desktops?
We're toying with the idea.
Yeah, that's a good question, Danny.
Well, as far as what we're putting out next, well, so
wait, Gerald, you're muted.
Sorry, I was just saying I muted myself to go look up names from Blitz to ask the same question.
Well, so we do have 3 full-on synths now: Deckards, Kajimi, and Xerxes, which is kind of loosely based on the Elka. What we've been kind of working on lately is kind of diving a little further into Kajimi, because it's kind of more of our own, like it's a proper Black Corp synthesizer, as in the ideas behind it are a lot more of our own, rather than trying to, so Deckards Dream has to be as close to a CS80 as we possibly can get it, because everyone knows what a CS80 sounds like. At trade shows, it's pretty obnoxious when people come out and they're like, "Oh, this doesn't have quite the filter range," or no, the filter range is way much more than the, so there are all these, people that get a little nitpicky on details. So it has to get as close as possible. We think we're pretty close, but so that's that.
Mhm.
And same thing with Xerxes. There are a lot of people who play the laser harp, and those people are like, okay, the sync sounds just like that. Okay, good. But Kijimi was inspired by a really rare synth called a polycobalt. Basically, what Roman took from that was the modulation matrix and the fact that you go through the waveforms continuously rather than choosing them. And from there, he just decided to put in his own filter idea. The envelopes work this particular way, and basically we just made it our own thing. And then the other Roman went way overboard and just introduced individual LFOs for each parameter that you can really get deep into. And at the same time, one of our one of the early customers for the Deckards Dream DIY version is kind of a young budding engineer. I think still working on his PhD. He's been making software editors for him based on AI, where you load up the bank and it automatically puts all of the presets in that bank in a particular space, and you move around that space and it'll kind of meld the parameters in between them. So it's really interesting to move around, and we've just been testing that. Well, I haven't really been testing it because I don't do the nerd stuff, but the second Roman has been kind of working night and day to the point where I walk into the office looking all happy and he's ready to punch me. So where was I going with this? Okay, so we've been focused really on Kijimi, and we're about to release a new firmware, which I guess Gerald, you have a Kijimi, right?
I did. I don't have it currently. Hope to get one again. But yeah, it was a beautiful synth. I think I got it immediately after it came out. And of course, I think it was right around when I was moving, and whenever financial hardships go, the expensive gear goes first. So that was the first one to go, and it was really sad to see it go because it was a beautiful, beautiful synth. And I know that when I got it, it was still in the early stages of the firmware, so I still had some MIDI issues when I was hooking it up. I've heard those are all solved. Everything's perfect with it now, and so I'm excited to hopefully get that back. I was thinking. I know I'm going to get one of the three, and still trying to lean towards Deckards, but now I'm like, well, maybe I'll just get 4 Deckards Voices and put those in there, and then I'll have that, and then I can get the Kijimi over here. So still making that decision right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, you just let me know.
Hey, Danny, speaking of multiple...
multiple...
Well, I want you to explain a little bit more after we play your set, but...
Sure.
I'll
explain.
Us the light version, because your setup has 2 of them in there.
Well, I guess with the sort of mentality within a patch, if you've got, a bunch of oscillators going and sound sources, you can spare having them both sort of... in a chord together, like in a 2-note chord or something. But for my patch that I did tonight, I basically had only these 2 synths, and so I have one that's low, one that's high, and so it was more to fill the patch, like a track or something.
What are the 2 synths?
I have 2 Deckards Voices in this patch. Okay. Yeah, and so I basically used pressure points, and I sequenced both of them, but one was low, one was high. Both were at different sort of clock sources and trigger rhythms, so it should sound interesting.
Cool.
Well, how about we jump into that right now? I can
sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's check that out. Give me a sec here. Let's get it
Gerald, did I just see you crack open a beer?
You certainly did.
It's 11:20 here, so I'm getting
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Danny Kim from Distortion Corporation using dual Deckards voices. That setup is crazy, by the way, but I'm gonna let it ride.
All right.
Excellent.
I know. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. So yeah, I guess if you want me to explain a little bit about this patch, basically
Please.
when I had sort of tried to put this rig together, I wanted to definitely have some sort of visual of what was happening, especially for the show. So I put the data right in the center. The left side was covering more like the low end frequencies and bass. So I think it was mostly in like a quarter rhythm of the bass lines. And so that was actually coming out of the quarter from the random rhythm on the left side, which was being clocked by, I think, from Pamela's workout or grids. So I was kind of chaining these random rhythm and trigger sources so that there was more sort of nice magic type, chaos happening earlier upstream. And so I figured if I was going to split them and not have these chords, that the sound might be a little bit dry. So I put a ton of like effects on the end of the chain. So the low end, it's on the insert with magneto on the right side, and then that's coming out of the performance mixer on the bottom. And then the right side is more of like a higher sort of like the first and second octave ranges, and that's running through the Folktech altar in the very top center. And then that's going to the Eventide delay. And then that's even getting a little bit of the magneto on the end, so it's kind of triple affected. And I tried to sort of play a bit with the built-in LFO, which you can use to modulate the pitch, the filter, and the VCA. So I use them a little bit sparingly, because if you have the VCO up a little bit and speed up, it goes crazy. So it's a different type of style of music if you're using that. But so sometimes I'd pull the cable on the pressure points on the brain, but most of the time I was manually triggering them, so that when you feel the progression or the notes that you want to play, you just hit one of the 8 pads below. But I was when I was practicing the patch, I had a nice little sort of like trill that I was going back and forth on sliding, but then for some reason it wasn't conducting my finger for some reason. Sometimes it happens on the older Make Noise modules, where when I was outdoors playing on the Renee in cold weather one time, it was just flipping out and the LEDs were going crazy, and I tried to get like a slice of hot pizza and put it on top with a paper plate underneath, and with mixed results. But at least I knew it was a temperature issue. So those conductive little coils that are built on the bottom of the pressure points, looks like it kind of let me down in that case. But it sounded a bit like a progression from Stranger Things or something when I was going through fast. But yeah, I think that's about it. I had a little tiny effect did WMD Fracture, which is a really cool percussion module that Mike Dobler in LA told me about. And so before you see like the rample and the pixel dust or pixie dust, and I wanted to keep it sort of minimal. And so I just used one percussion element from the Fracture. Yeah, so I think that's about it.
Very cool
Very
patch.
cool. Yes.
Well done.
Thanks, man.
Great. Oh, she's.
And you know, I love to hear about your patch because, you know, visually the case looks so nice. When you look at these modules in this case, just looks great. But
Yeah.
like everything has a reason. It's not all about the aesthetics, but the aesthetics are great too.
Even the patch cable color option was just.
Yeah.
Well, those Instro cables, they look like mini guitar cables, and I had ordered them almost like 8 months ago, and I wasn't sure if they were still coming or not. It just took a really long time, but they finally came, and I'm glad because they look a lot better than all the fluorescent colored cables that I had in there when I was practicing.
Time for autumn.
Yeah. So I mean, all the visual stuff, it was kind of an afterthought after the patch was already together. But it was you know, with all the alternate panels and stuff, sometimes when you're putting something together, it make a little bit of difference in your creative process. If you look at a cool panel and you know, you've got a rig that just looks cool and you feel a little bit more inspired, maybe like 2% more.
I agree with that.
Danny, I was wondering if you, because one of the things that I feel about this module, and there's not that many out there. The other one that gave me that same feeling was Fumana, just because it has the sliders instead of the knobs.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoy about that is the visual representation, that you can just look at the module and know what's going on. Whereas with the knobs, it can be a little bit dark. There's just that little white line that's telling you where it's at. You don't really, it just seems like it's really, for me, a lot more fun to play in that sense, because I love the sliders. I love being able to look at it and just know where everything is quickly, because especially with the choice of the rubber colors on top of it, you can easily discern which is which. You feel the same way?
Yeah, well, I guess the colors are a nice sort of element that call back to the CS80, and it's a nice homage. The sliders on this case alone, like you've got the random rhythm, you've got the Batumi, the quad LFO, but I think the most relevant one would probably be the WMD performance mixer, because the fader modules, they're vertical, and so you can see the position, but they also have, like, depending on the amplitude, they get brighter. The LED built into the fader, so I mean that's pretty awesome. But
that's a very huge function. Like, it's
it's what makes it such a great module. But yeah, no, I agree. The vertical faders allows. I mean, that's one of the big differences with the digital and analog synths. You get a nice visual representation of where the faders are. But now that I think about it, you know, there are some digital synths, like I think one of my favorite ones was the Nordlead 3, because the encoder ring on the outside of that, you can see exactly where the knob position is. Even if the fader is like all the way like to 6 o'clock, it could be at 3 for a different patch. So as you're changing patches, you get different representation, and you know where it is. So that, I think, is one of the all-time sort of great features on a synth that I've seen.
So I just kind of want to jump in. There's a question back in the chat. Electronic Sounds was asking about the filters, and can you kind of talk about that a little bit, Bob? Just about the different. Let me go back and I'll read you his exact.
Filters, one input.
What was the question?
I think that's what he said.
So there's two.
So there's 2 filters, 1 input.
2 filters, 1 input. Yeah, there's a low pass and a high pass filter. So, you know, you can kind of dial in specifically what band you want to let through. And yeah, it also gives you the opportunity to play something kind of acidy or do an EDM like high pass, you know, if that's your shtick. But yeah, it just offers a lot more flexibility with what you can do.
So you're still getting like 1 filter output, but you can dial them in the most, because you can make a notch filter at some point.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
think
the high pass and the low pass have their own resonance.
Okay.
And I think maybe what he's referring to, because he was like the filter in patch, but I guess from what I understand and just using the module, maybe you can kind of clarify if I'm understanding it wrong, is the Brilliance CV. And is that when I patch that kind of takes control of the complete
everything
parameters of the filter, correct?
Right.
Is that
right.
okay?
Brilliance on Deckard's Dream, Brilliance is for the whole performance section of the instrument. So Brilliance on the module will control both the high pass and the low pass, depending on where you have those set.
Gotcha, simultaneously. Okay, that was cool.
I missed the question. What was? Oh yeah, okay. What does the filter input patch point do? Yeah, that's. Hopefully we answer that. All right, we did get a nice from him. So.
And at this point, I just want to remind everybody, please remember to subscribe to Gear Dive Jam and share and like and all those things so that, you know, we can continue to bring dope content. And just as a reminder, although we're sharing these performances here in the show, we'll also be sharing those, you know, outside of the show as just a video of its own on our channel and with patch notes. And so you'll be able to kind of revisit that and enjoy it. And, you know, be sure to follow our guests as well. And smash the like button on those videos and tell them what you like about the patch, ask your questions, and, you know, we can get those answered.
And one other thing too, just make sure, drop in the comments later on if you want to come back and circle back and look at it, just what other pieces of gear that you're interested in us featuring, you know, because, you know, this is not only just for us, but it's for all of you too. So, and it's nice to have various members of our community on to help showcase it.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's about the teaching, the learning, the talking, the diving, right? So it's Gear Dive Jam. We don't, you know, a lot of times Shonda and I have done so many of these shows and these streams that sometimes I think people expect us to be the experts in everything. Not true. So, I mean, we love to learn new gear just as much as anybody else. So sometimes you'll see us jam and dive in, but other times we'll be taught, and that's the cool thing about this format.
What does the brilliant patch point do on Deckards Voice is probably the most difficult question I've had all week.
I think I got it right though, right? Like at least that's how I've been patching it. It's been working, so that's what I've been expecting it to do. But yeah,
I mean, we've had our headspace so far in Kijimi for the past 2 weeks, and I just haven't been I hadn't turned on Deckards Voice until last night or this morning. After about like 3 weeks of not even thinking about it. So I was like, what does this do again? And yeah, so sometimes I have to look into the manual that I wrote.
I also just wanted to mention too that since Danny just played, if you go to his Instagram, there's 3 or 4 posts back, I think it is. He has another one that has Deckards Voice. So if you're after this, when it's over, go check it out because it's a really, really good patch. Thanks, man.
Yeah, actually, those would be more of the things that I was probably expecting to come into this show doing a patch with more like chord elements. I use the Electrophone Clang, which is a chord generator, and I had the 2 voices that were a sequence from that, almost like 16 or 32 steps. So yeah, so I have about 3 patches, like Gerald was saying.
Nice.
Check them out.
Let me check that out. And you're
at free advertising.
Yeah,
that's your third, right? That's your IG.
Yeah, it's Disco, short for Distortion Corporation. But yeah, so we're gonna hear your patch now, Gerald.
Yeah, let's check
it out.
Let me get into it. Let's see. All right.
Adding Disco.
So, hold on. Share, and give me a second to go find it here.
I'm already following you, Danny.
Yeah, I think we're following each other already.
I'm really, really new to Instagram.
Yeah,
I'm actually using it. Yeah.
Dope. All right, let's see. Let me get you.
That was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome,
I
man.
love that vibe.
Really great sound design.
Mhm.
And yeah, I like that vocal sound, and so I was curious with the Deckard's voice. I know that's not the percussion, but so some of the elements, like you have one, right?
Yeah, so what I did here was a little bit different than what I normally do. So you can see that there was, in one I'm wearing a hat and one I wasn't. So I wasn't just putting the hat on real quick and switching it. It was multi-tracked. So what I did was use every single voice that you hear, except the drums, are Deckard's voice.
Oh,
So I went and I started off with drums, and the drums were separate. The drums were and actually much more complicated than they sound. Chain of soma going through a bunch of different paths, and then the more straight on drums were some samples in a simulator. And so I started there, and I just kind of laid out where it was going to go, and then I took on the Deckards, and I did five tracks of Deckards, and went back and multi-tracked. And so there's the one that you hear by itself in the beginning that goes throughout is a snappy kind of bass, which there's very little modulation on that except for the filter. There's quick attack times, fast release running through that, and I have that going through the Bafako per call, and which kind of gives it a percussive sound, so real snappy but melodic at the same time. And that was kind of the higher bass sound, and then underneath that I had a sub bass sound going on in the lower register that had a bunch of external modulation, with just random things being modulated. Especially did a lot of what I like about this module is the modulation you can do within the module itself. So using the envelope out, using the sign out, things like that, and LFO out, being able to just patch it back into itself and getting some really unique things as well. So I was able to get some cool sub bass sounds from that. There was almost a piano type of a sound that I pulled out of that too, and that was just playing a lot with the filter, the resonance, and the brilliance, all of it modulated. That one was run through the new Audio Thing VST wires, which Heimbach collaborated with. It's like an old Soviet wire recorder echo. It's really cool for like kind of lo-fi metallic echoes. What's that?
Is that the big red thing in the back?
No, it was a VST. So that was the only VST that I used. And so that was being used for that kind of piano type sound. Then there was kind of almost a mushy type of a lead, a real lo-fi lead that was going on. Mm-hmm. And that one had a bunch of modulation from Oct and Random Step, the Div Kid collaborations, running through Strymon Magneto with pitch down delay, internal spring reverb, giving it kind of a washed out sound, also going through Lo-Fi Junkie. And then there's a kind of a pad throughout the whole thing that's going on as well. With that has a lot of modulation using Oct and Random Step as well, going through Make Noise, Mimifoam, Qubit Data Bender, noise engineering, Desmatus Versio. So really giving it a washed out sound, and also Lo-Fi Junkie on that one too.
It was nice. Very nice.
Yeah, right on, man. Thanks for taking us through that. a lot of routing.
It was actually really quick. It was surprising. I thought I did it. I did the whole patch probably within. I mean, even with the multi-track, within maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, and it was just one right after the other, and just kind of. All right, let's see what happens if I random step this. Let's see what happens if I have some LFOs going in here. That doesn't sound right. Let me mess around. There it goes. That sounds good. Let's go. And then just on to the next.
Did you say you sampled it into your assimilator? Did I hear that right?
No, that was the other drums were assimilator. So there's two drum sections. The more click clack and actually I have a lot of it. Even a lot of the voices I have running through what's called an Elysia. It's a 500 series module, so it's not Eurorack, but it's Elysia Envelope 500. It's a transient designer, and what I really like about Deckards, especially with in conjunction with the filters and the resonance, the combination of the two, you can get some really cool crackling type sounds that are mixed in there, that in the tails of it, and I really enjoy that kind of stuff. And so with the Envelope 500, it allows you to shape those and really kind of bring them up, basically. So I can pull them back and have it really snappy and pull them out and then pull them back in to where it's much louder than what the module would actually do on its own, and really let those kind of noise and crackle shine.
Nice.
Very dope. Very dope. I like that you took the time to multi-track stuff and how it all kind of turned out, and even more so the fact that Danny was like, "You got more than one Deckard."
Yeah, I think the decision
was hearing 5 of them, right? Technically,
yeah, you were. You heard 5 of them.
You picked up on that, right?
I mean, I was just trying to figure out how to best showcase it, but also at the same time, for the last several months, I was working on trying to finish my album, and I've had this module for a while, and I was like, just haven't had time to do it. And so this is my first time to really sit down with it. That was the first thing I did with it. And while I've kind of messed with it here and there, I didn't really do that. So this was a great opportunity just to see all the different types of sounds you can pull out of it. And that's really what I like about it, is that it can do so much, and it's got such a sweet sound to it. And it's really, it's I don't know, separate from a lot of the other oscillators that I have, and just the kind of tone that it provides.
Nice
job.
Yeah, it was really creative use of it, and inspiring. The multi-track modular. I haven't really done that a whole lot.
I do that on all my albums.
Right on. That's cool, man.
Well, it gives it kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like it kind of brings everything together. No, that's not the right word. It gives it cohesion.
Yes.
Like kind of like when you're multi-tracking and everything's being modulated in the same way, but coming from different ends, and it's all just kind of together like a little happy family.
Yeah. It was really fun. It was fun just to say, okay, I wanted to do bass, but now I want it to be a sub bass. Now I want it to be a punchy bass. Now I want it to be a piano. Now I want it to be a pad. And just trying to learn literally, I did all that within an hour and a half, never having really spent any significant time with the module at all, and just messing with those faders, find a starting point, and then saying, okay, what's this modulation do? What's this modulation do?
I think that's one of the great things about this module is what we were talking about from in the beginning, which is everything is on the face of it. You have the faders. It's so playable. And the fact that you can just see all the settings right there in that moment. And one of the things that I like to do is just to kind of create a variation would be to turn up that LFO and pull up the VCO, because it just really shifts the sound, and it's sort of like creates that kind of like that breakdown. Well, it's a sound that I like. I know, Danny, you're like, I don't know if you were saying you were.
Oh, no. I like it, actually. It's really cool, and I was doing it in practice, but I forgot to get back to it during the actual recording. I was going to use that.
Grind. It has like this.
It has a nice sound
to it. Yes. So and then it's kind of like, and the fact that it is so playable, so it's just like you can just basically slam those faders right back down, and then you're like into a completely different sound, which is I'm all about performance oriented modules. So definitely.
Have you checked out the Performer then? Because that's out now.
Yeah. I actually ran this through the Performer when we did the Performer on last time on Gear Dive Jam. This was the module that I used when I was running through the Performer, and I loved it. It sounded they paired very well together. I'll say that. Yes.
So there was a comment. Well, it's in the private chat, but I don't think it's necessarily private. It says EG out to velocity. Out to velocity. What's up with that? Is that like one of those kind of little known gems, patch gems?
That is to
shape it. It's like shaping.
That's it's what's that? It just makes it a bit snappier.
Okay.
So when you have the envelope, when the envelope closes, it cuts out anything going through the VCA. So it's just if you want it to close tighter, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know if I described that really well.
Gerald, I think I had another question. Since you multi-tracked your set, what are you using on the output? Are you using anything special on the output to kind of and Bob made me think of this because it does, when you multi-track, it does kind of bring some cohesion. But then too, we all know there's a certain amount of glue you can get by putting a compressor or something on the two butts on the output or whatever. Are you doing anything like that?
Yeah, typically whenever I go that route, or actually, yeah, in this case, I was going straight out of my modular, and then for the chain on probably 2 to 3 of the 5 voices, and I think I did it on the drums as well, at least on the Soma drums. I put it through first the 500 series, the Envelope 500, which I was mentioning earlier is the transient designer, just kind of to pull out a lot of the transients in there. And then almost always I go through my Dangerous compressor. It's Dangerous Audio is an awesome company, and their compressor's insane. And so I have it going through that, and then I usually kind of go with a light touch on the Dangerous compressor there, because on the master bus, I usually have and I use VSTs because I don't have the I wish I did, but I don't have the Shadow Hills master compressor, and Shadow Hills master compressor is awesome. And then a limiter on the back of that.
Nice.
Okay. Dope.
So Bob, are you ready to kind of share with us your little patching and
well, I'd like to go back in time, and to answer your question, I'd like to go first before Danny and Gerald. So I'll need a little preparation, and maybe I'll guide you through it beforehand.
Sure.
No, I'll explain it after. Just I couldn't get the extra camera working, so I'm just wondering if I should just wheel the computer around like so. I have one of these little IKEA trolleys that make everything easy.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably plug in headphones so I can hear what I'm doing. So basically, I just took everything out of the big rack and put it into the smaller rack where I knew I would use most of the things in it, and I was screwing and plugging everything in until probably 4 a.m. and then really quickly devised the patch on this Noodlebox sequencer that I just got that I still don't know how to use. I don't know how to set the BPM yet on it. So
those look really cool though.
It's yeah. If you've ever seen one, it's like kind of. I mean,
they look fun.
They're mostly described as like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first heard about it, I mean, I got interested in this company, 64 Pixels, because I used to have an Omnichord, and I sold it, and then I sold one of these. Like, has anyone used one of these?
No.
Basically, a DIY Omnichord where like I can't play keys really well, and this came, I guess, to everyone's attention when I first demonstrated Kijimi at Super Booth, and I was just playing one note at a time. And one of the YouTube comments said, "Oh, this guy's demonstrating a polyphonic synthesizer. Can't even play a fucking chord." I'm like, "Thank you." So to quell that, I got myself one of these. The Listrom, it's like a DIY kit, and like this will play keys in a major chord, and you strum these, and it plays within that scale.
Nice.
And that's minor, and this is sevenths, and then you do like augmented and diminished and all this stuff that I don't know about. But I was really impressed with this, and so I got in touch with the guy and saw some of the other things that he had to offer. And he had this little noodle box, which it's a 4-channel sequencer, and it just arrived. So I'm just learning how to use it, and I figured, hey, why not? Hey, why not learn it with you guys live?
What's the name of the company again?
Sure, why not?
So you're not going to hear something Danny or Gerald level, but let's see what we can get going here. As soon as I can figure out where to plug these headphones in. There we go. Actually, no, it's probably... Actually, if you give me 30 seconds, I'll get one of the small to bigs.
Cool.
And of course, I don't have one handy.
While you do that, actually, Gerald, tell us about, since we have this a little time, tell us about how you were syncing everything. I think that was a question in there. You may have answered it, but
so that was actually a project to eventually figure that out, because I know when I started modular was trying to figure that out, because I do a lot of multi-tracking, and I mean I do a lot of singular performances and just do 2 out, and that's obviously easy to record. But especially with sampling and things like that, sometimes I'll use samplers, but sometimes I'll just want to use sampling in my DAW and be able to cut it and do whatever I need to do, and I want it to be in sync. So after searching a lot of different ways to try to figure it out, I just couldn't get them to match. And supposedly there's quite a few good ways to do it, but the way that I do it, just because I use Bitwig as my DAW, Bitwig has a VST or just a tool that's a HW clock out. So you can set the clock out there. There's a few settings you need to tweak to make it work properly. And then I have that cable running, my ADAT cable from my Apollo 8P running into the ADAT input on the Expert Sleepers ES8. And so that provides that sync. Now that didn't work either. So if you're trying this and you have that problem, you can see on the ES8 that there's a signal. It shows that their LEDs light up on the outputs, but it wasn't working. And I was like, what's going on? Because I'm trying to sync it to PAMs, and I figured out that I had to just add gain to it. So basically run it through an audio IO. So I got an IntelliGel that unfortunately takes up too much space. I probably should get something else to do it, but I have it just there for that purpose. So I run that output into that, turn it up just a little enough to where the levels need to be, and then going into the clock input on the Pamelas, and the Pamelas controls my whole system.
Nice.
So you give it a little bit of a boost out of the Expert Sleepers into the PAMs, and that'll give it
for some reason it needs a little
clock.
juice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. That's good to know.
And the thing about that's one of those gotchas that it could totally waste your entire day.
It could waste your entire month. Trust me.
So you're saying that the clock pulse coming from Bitwig was not strong enough through the Expert Sleepers to clock PAMs?
Yeah, I put it all the way up inside the hardware clock output tool that Bitwig allows, and for whatever reason, and I it's got to be a common problem, because I finally found, like, when you go to Google, you can't find anything, but you dig down the thing, and that's what I'm saying. For like weeks, I was like digging through and saw somebody mention that, and I already had the IntelliGel Audio IO, so I just tried to plug it in there, and all it took was. But it's funny, it's so finicky, because you put it too much, then it's giving it too much, and it won't do it right. So you just gotta put it right, put it on PPQN 24, I think, whatever it is, on the Pamelas, and then all of a sudden, now it's just dead on. But like with anything, sometimes the starting point for the first couple, it may take a minute for some of the gear, depending on what's connected, to sync up completely properly. So it's not always like I can just go start, and then it's going to be perfect for those first 4 bars. I might have to record and then assume that I'm just going to delete those first 4 bars and then start. That's where the start point is.
Oh, well, so there's a little bit of a ramp where it's out of sync and then it comes into sync and then it goes out again.
With some of the gear. So like when you start, like if I'm, because now I'm running that and then I'm using polyend, what do you call it? The Poly 2 to run MIDI into the polyend sec, the polyend tracker, the peak, and the Soma Pulsar 23. So having it all into each of those, some of those might have a little bit more of a delay than others just because of how it accepts MIDI, I guess. I don't know. I'm not. All I do is play this stuff.
You would hope that there's some universal standard that everything could use. But,
I wonder if there's a lot of impedance between the modules and the cables. By the time you hit the Pamela's, maybe there was just a lot of resistance.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that even tells you, though, I think if I remember correctly, I believe it states that in the Soma Pulsar, in the actual manual, that if you're running it by MIDI, it won't sync immediately. It'll take a minute, or it might not have been the manual. It might have just been something I saw, but it just seems to be the way it is.
Technology.
How we looking, Bob?
Yeah, I think I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just noodle around for a little bit, and then we'll get into the patch stuff. But yeah,
Cool.
I'm gonna turn my mic off here. So. Let me know if anything gets too loud or something.
You go. Nice.
Nice.
Nice groove, man. That was cool.
So that was a. Oh, where'd that come from? Is this still playing? Is that coming from me?
Yeah, we can still hear it.
Yeah. Set part 2.
Oh, that's weird.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
That's it.
I guess that's what I felt there.
I love those lo-fi drums. It kind of felt like electronic beatboxing. It was dope.
I had a few things in mind when I was putting this patch together, and it was a really quick thing. So like when my Gerald's like, I spent 2 hours on this, I'm like, shit, you're supposed to spend 2 hours patching. By the time I finished assembling the setup, it was like 4 a.m. and I had a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment, which I was late for. But so I was like, okay, I'll patch this, and this will kind of show this thing off of Deckards Voice and whatever. So the first thing that I brought in was just like kind of a kick and a snare, just from the sine and the noise outputs from Deckards Voice going into Pittsburgh Lifeform's percussion sequencer. And so it just had the snappy envelope. So I just wanted to, before I brought most of it in, I did at one point open up the noise just so you could hear what that was. That was from Deckards Voice. And then, the drums were this 014 by Division Department, going through, Noise Engineering's 2 Ruinas, the Secca Ruina and the Viola Ruina. That might have been the lo-fi drums that you heard, kind of beefing up what was coming out of the Deckards Voice. And then, I was happy when we came on and I saw Danny with the Front 242 shirt, because like when I was kind of jamming with the sound and the sequence on the noodle box, which makes it really easy to kind of dial in what notes that you want it to play. I mean, before that I was using the Maleko voltage block, which is amazing, and you can put everything in scale, but like it doesn't tell you what note that you have on. So this gives you the visual feedback, which is really
just sliders, right? The voltage blocks, so you're just
and up until I got this noodle box, the Maleko system, the variegate voltage block and the LFO together were like my main sequencer for as far back as when I started with modular, since about 3 or 4 years ago. And so this noodle box, I think it's going to open up new dimensions for how I do things here. And then just to kind of beef it up, because you have 4 channels coming out of this noodle box, I sent extra gates to, what did I do here? I sent a gate to the Zularic repetitor, and just 16th notes to put out the beat. And the Zularic repetitor goes through the trigger 31, which converts triggers to MIDI. And the thing about this guy is it doesn't have any triggers in. It only takes MIDI. And so I had to get a separate module so I could use one of these guys to MIDI in directly
that's
from
the drum. That's a drum machine, right?
It's a drum synth. Yeah. And you can't sequence anything on it. It's the greatest drum synth I've ever played with.
Wow.
It's
Nice.
It's basically it's 4. Let me unplug it. It's 4 of basically, you can get the same sound out of any of them, and you have the source being triangle or saw, or noise, or a hi-hat sound. So the hi-hat sound is kind of like based on the 606 hi-hat sound. So you can kind of tune it to sound, very much like a 606. And you can kind of FM mod the voices among each other. And it does some really cool things. And once you send it through some distortion, it's pretty baller.
Cool.
Nice.
And yeah, so I had another gate coming out of sequencer controlling Zularic, which controlled this. And then I sent another separate gate to Basimilis with the CV that was controlling the pitch of the Deckards Voice, also controlling the pitch of Basimilis, and controlling the pitch of the primary oscillator on the Lifeforms Voltage Lab. That's part of the Voltage Research Laboratory from Pittsburgh Modular. And so that's why everything was kind of in the same key, or the pitch was all the same, but with different gates going out onto the Basimilis, so it just kind of added a little variation to the main synth line from Deckards.
Very cool.
And eventually, Deckards, you want it going through a nice kind of reverby kind of thing, so I used Specular Tempest. It's a GFI Systems, if you know this pedal. Richard Devine, whenever he posts his little videos, I pull out my wallet. And,
I wouldn't call them little videos.
Right.
Spends days to patch.
Yeah, that's how it is with Richard Devine's videos. It's like everything is dope all of a sudden. It's like if he puts it in, he takes it to the max.
Right.
Oh, shit, I got all of the lights.
He's got like the one thing in the background with it looks like the lava lamp with the
The lasers now.
Do they sell that at IKEA?
Well, cool. Hey, this has been really dope and really fun time. I'm glad everybody came on and some really dope patches. And I learned a little bit about Deckards Voice tonight. So I guess now I gotta go get my wallet.
Join the club.
No doubt. And Travarsi, we were going to have you do a patch, but you're gonna upload a patch later?
Yes.
Okay.
When we load Gerald and Danny's and Bob's, I'll load up mine. Just to let everyone know, I had a little audio issue earlier, so I think it's best that I just upload my patch. I mean, I can talk about it for just a moment, but I'm definitely going to upload. I'm sorry.
You'll put us in suspense. You'll talk about it, and we're like, now we gotta hear.
No, I won't. I won't talk about. I'll just post it. There we go. I'll put the notes. I'll put patch notes in the description.
Okay. And that's the other thing about you get the chance to for most of the patches, like for the guests that send us videos. The cool thing about it is when we actually post those videos on our YouTube channel, they also come with patch notes. So the same thing with Travarsi, when she posts hers, it'll come with patch notes, and you get the full experience. So, all right. Anybody want to say anything in closing?
One thing is I bought 2 tripods for this this session because I wanted to have like the iPhone on a camera for like a better camera than my 2014 Mac camera here, but I found that it works with this the Zoom H8 really well, so I'm glad I made that $30 investment.
Nice.
Well,
cool. If you have any questions related to Black Corporation synths, you can email me directly, bob@black-corporation.com, or when you're ready to buy your 16 Deckards Voices, if you want a modular Deckards Dream. I think we might be able to work out something. I don't know. But yeah, greetings from Tokyo, where it seems like we're allowed to go out a lot more than you guys are over in California.
We're all locked up over here.
Yep.
Yeah. We're in a bad place now.
Enjoy whatever outside is like.
I'll tell you what it's all like in the comments.
That's right. Well, all right. Hey, Gerald, good to have you on. Danny's good to have you on. Bob,
yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You guys in person and seeing you again, Shanda. This is fun.
I know, it's so great to see you again. Yeah. Hopefully we get to see you in person soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
No doubt. And don't forget to subscribe and be sure to follow us all on Instagram.
Mhm, mhm.
We out.